All right, all right. It looks like we are live. Hey, everybody, it's JJ Conway. I'm so excited to be with you today or tonight. I know we were, for those of you who are used to watching live, we're totally a little bit late, and I am not even sorry, y'all. Let me tell you why we're late today. Let me show you this picture. So, today we were at a very special event that was hosted by Cowboy Chef Mike Newton and his wife Melanie. And it was basically Master Chef versus Master Chef Junior. And if you've watched the show Master Chef with Gordon Ramsay and some other, Aaron Sanchez has been a judge on that for a long time. And then they have some other judges that have been there and gone back and forth. It's just a fabulous show. And my one of the shows that our family likes to watch together, and they had several contestants. So Chef Newton, Cowboy Chef Newton, is a contestant from the show, and he has a restaurant here in Stephenville. Well, then also Shane the Train, who you can see here at the white cowboy hat. Shane the Train, he competed on MasterChef Junior. Both him and Chef Newton tried to do the bounce back. Chef Newton didn't make it. I think Shane made it for a little bit, but he didn't win. But the cool thing is, he came out here to go to college after having a great conversation with Chef Newton about Stephenville and how there's a college, and so it's really neat. My oldest actually interned with Chef Newton for a little while. He loves to cook. He's going to school for engineering, but he loves to cook. And he actually interned with Chef Newton for a little while last spring before going off to college and getting a paying job. And it was really a great experience for him. And I'm like, you've got to make me that chicken fried steak. He won't share the recipes though. Like, wait a second, that's part of the mama's privilege. But no, it was it. And so he brought in the chef. And I didn't get a picture with Asher's dad, Chef Fat Pastor, but this young man here, he made it to fourth place on MasterChef Junior, and that was just this last year. So my little one was very invested in the fact that we were going to get to see Asher, and he's going to get a chance to meet him Saturday. They're doing a meet and greet at the restaurant. But tonight was MasterChef versus MasterChef, and it was basically the MasterChef Junior, Shane and Asher, versus the Master Chefs, which were Chef Newton and Asher's father, the fat. They call him the Fat Pastor. Okay, and they're from the Pacific Northwest, and so it was a wonderful, wonderful evening. And honestly, I almost didn't want to do it because of so many tragedies, and many of you have heard of the passing of Coach Shar, and just so many other people, like in my family, my friends' families, it's just blowing my mind. And I know as we get older, I did a whole video on this. Some of you might remember. I did a whole video on this about how when we get older, we're going to have to become adept at grieving, and how in some cultures grieving was actually an art form, and that there was very real definiteness to the fact that we need to grieve and how we grieve, and the different things we do to grieve. And so, if you haven't seen that video, I have these videos that I make on my Facebook channel while I'm walking. We're starting to load some of those onto YouTube because you might like the topics. And even though I'm walking and the sound quality is not the best, the topics are a lot of fun. So we've been slowly loading those to YouTube, and I did a whole thing on grieving and how I'm tired of grieving, but I've decided I'm going to learn how to grieve because my intent is to live as full of a life as I can. And instead of cowering in the corner with all the grief, I'm going to take life by the horns, deal with the grief, and then move forward. Well, I can say that and be all big and bravado about it, right? But sometimes it's hard to move forward. So a couple months ago, when my husband bought these tickets for this special event, I didn't really realize I was going to be going through so much grief and so many issues. And so with that, the other day I was almost about ready to just back out of it and cancel, just because, like, everything has been going this and everything's been going that. And y'all know what time it is. It's tax time. For those of us who filed our extensions back in April so we could have 6 more months to do our taxes, guess what? It's time to file them by October 15th. Oh my goodness, I got the message, and y'all, there's no excuse for it because I should have been done did it, right? I was even on a thing where I was like, yeah, I've got it almost done. I'm going to send it in. I was on a Zoom to celebrate their 30th anniversary as a firm. And it was just like, yeah, you really need to get yours in. You always get yours in at the last minute. And y'all, I did not want to do my taxes. I did not want to do it. I had the numbers in their respective places, but I already knew I did not want to put all those numbers together and look at them all together, because to look at them all together was going to be to admit that I made some pretty poor business decisions back in 2023. There's no way to beat around the bush about it. I made some poor business decisions. I retired from the Air Force in 2020. My speaking business really started to take off 2021, 2022. I mean, it was just amazing how fast we were growing, how many different people I was bringing into the team. I mean, it was just amazing. And I mean, I know anytime anything explodes like that, there's going to be a correction. All these COVID businesses, you look around and see how many people still got a COVID business. Not that many people still have a COVID business. You look around at all the people who quit their boring old work jobs so they could go home and work from home, doing hardly nothing, making lots of money. And guess what's happening? People getting tired of paying people to do nothing. So guess what? A lot of those jobs are evaporating and people are going right back to work, right? So we understand that life is a cycle. Life is a series of business cycles. And, just like the market goes up and down, with market cycles, we drew this out during our group coaching. Every first Tuesday, we do group coaching. Just like the market has cycles, well, life has cycles. And anytime anything just goes amazingly big, you can believe there's going to be a correction. I know that intellectually. You know what? I teach it as a financial planner who teaches you how to dump debt and build wealth without more debt, right? Like, I know these things, but I did not like to see them happen to me. And so a lot of coaches, a lot of speakers, a lot of trainers are finding themselves in a situation where the income, if they haven't been aggressive, and I know some speakers who've been very aggressive about nurturing their business during the pandemic, and they have boom, they've exploded. Okay. But many of us, we kind of just like, hey, everything's working great with all this virtual stuff. Yeah. And so I guess I got a little caught up in a lot of that. And so I did not want to do my taxes. I did not want to see how much money I lost in 2023. And I didn't want to see how little I made. And I know I made a conscious choice in 2023, the fall of 2023, which is, honestly, for me, I make a lot more money in summer and fall of the year than I do in the first half of the year. So in the fall of 2023, my son was senior year, football, varsity, band, all the things. And then in spring of 24, I thought I was going to get back to doing my business. But then I found out, just because football and band season is over, as a Texas mom, senior stuff doesn't stop. There was all these different things. And I said, okay, I guess we're not doing much until after he graduates, right? And then, of course, you got to move him into college. And I had just made that commitment. I said to myself, I missed so much of his life being in the military. I missed so many birthdays. I missed so many special events. I missed his first basketball game one year because I was coming back from TDY, and who knew that San Antonio was going to ice over, and it was going to take me 3 days to get home from San Antonio to Louisiana. You know what I really should have done was just rent a car and inched my way home and been there for him. But I didn't have that presence of mind, and I didn't know then what I know now, which is you can't get that time back. So I made the decision I was going to be there for everything for him. And I was confident, and still am confident, that I can rebuild the business. Well, he's been at college this semester, and I ain't rebuilt much of anything. We kind of nursed along in Thursday classes, which, summer's always hit or miss with the Thursday classes. But, the things. Finally, the dust is starting to settle on some of the legal stuff. Finally, we're getting ready to be able to move forward with our new branding and all the other things, the things that's been like in limbo for a year. But I just did not want to look at the results. And I don't know if you've ever had anything that you have put off because you just know it's going to be painful. You know it's going to be a lot of work. You know it's going to be a lot of emotion. You just don't want to do it. It's like, you got a stack of stuff sitting on your table, and you know you should take care of this stack of stuff. And you know you should do something with the stack of stuff. And every time you walk past the stack of stuff, in your mind you say something negative, or you have some kind of negative feeling about the stack of stuff. And then one day, after like 6 months of negative feelings about the stack of stuff, one day you finally sit down and start filing the stack of stuff, and you're like, oh wow, this really isn't that bad after all. And like 15, 20 minutes, you've taken care of the sack of stuff. The sack of stuff that has probably cost you 6 months of negativity every time you walk past it, and you know it's got to get done. And that's kind of like what the taxes were for me, because I just didn't, I know it got to get done. I had all the numbers broken out. I just needed to put them together. I had everything individually categorized. I just needed to summarize and put all the things in the right categories. Y'all, first of all, I found out that I actually made about $10,000 more in 2023 than I did in 2022, which isn't much, but when you thought you lost a lot, well, actually, I did lose a lot. Let's not sugarcoat that. But I didn't think I made as much, if that makes sense. And if you're listening to me on the podcast and you're like, what? Why is she sharing all this? I encourage you to get in my mailing list. Oh man, I just forgot the link. Well, you can go to jjconway.com and get on the mailing list. And then you can also watch us on Thursdays, because I'm gonna tie this into some stuff we're gonna talk about later in our fireside chat. But I'm sitting there avoiding and avoiding and avoiding, because I know it and I don't want to see it. Okay. And then I'm like, whoa, I made $10,000 more than I thought I did. Now, I'm a financial planner. I should have known that, right? But in my mind, I was looking at the losses. I lost a lot of money in 2023. I chased after this and I chased after that. And I bought this license and that license. And I bought time on this stage and I bought time on that stage. And I bought time in this anthology and I bought that time on that. And look, I've written like 12, 13 books. Okay. I don't need I don't need to pay for somebody else's anthology, but sometimes it's good to. So, even if you've written your own book cover to cover, even if you've done your own couple of things cover to cover, it's still good to participate in anthologies that give you higher accesses to higher and more successful people. Not necessarily better than you people, but people who have attained a higher level of success. Okay, so it's still good to participate. But I was just like, what am I doing? And I just didn't want to see it. I just didn't want to see it. I didn't want to have to admit it. And you know what else I didn't want to have to do? I didn't want to have to send this to my accountant who's known me for like 18 years. And I didn't want to have to admit that after all these years of teaching people how to manage with money, that I just kind of got a little bit over my head and just a little excited about the business, and pretty much spent everything I made in the last 3 years chasing after all these things. It's good to have savings so you can chase after these things, but man, it stinks to see how much you waste sometimes. So I just didn't want to do it. And then finally getting it done was like a huge weight off my shoulders. And I realized that actually I lost a lot of money, but I got a lot of really good experiences. I lost money with this, and I lost money with that, and I lost money with that. But at each one of those points, I could see that I had grown. And with each one of those points, I could see that there was fruit that was born. It may not have been the fruit that I paid for, but fruit was born. And so, with that mindset, I realized that we have to oh, how do I want to say it? I was really just avoiding, 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 and I should have just done what I do with everything else in my life and just gone for it. And just said, okay, this is a part of the journey. And so it's interesting because I was telling you guys at the beginning about the Master Chef experience that we had tonight. And I was about ready to back out of it because so much grief and so much trouble and so much consternation and so much issues. And I just didn't see myself enjoying myself after all of that, especially hearing about Coach Shar the other day, and especially hearing about some of the other losses. And hers has been publicized, but some of the other losses that are going on right now. I just didn't think I was going to enjoy myself at all. And if you are listening to this as part of the podcast, I encourage you to go out to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page. I don't know how long this will stay on Facebook because I've started deleting things that are on Facebook because of the bandwidth. YouTube, once you upload it, it's uploaded. But my stuff that's on Facebook, uh, not Facebook itself, but the software that I use to upload things to Facebook, once you delete it out of that software, it deletes out of the actual post. So, yeah, I encourage you to go to YouTube and you can look for the Snowball versus Avalanche lesson or the fireside chat for October. And you can see the photo of us tonight, the Master Chef Junior versus Master Chef. And I'm really glad I didn't back out because it was nice to just take a couple of hours to have fun, to just set aside all the disappointments and all of the mistakes and all the discouragement and just enjoy what these fabulous young men brought to the table. This guy right here, this young guy right here made some fabulous marshmallow ice cream, and I mean the whole meal sequence was just amazing, and I'm so glad that we got to do that opportunity. So I think what I'll do now is I will go ahead and answer some questions. So that first part, that first part, for those of you who are watching live or that you're watching it on a streaming platform, not part of the podcast after the fact, that first part is probably what we're going to extract into either a Mindset Monday, which we're going to change the name of. I'm excited about this. I just can't wait to tell y'all, or make it a Juice with JJ. But we're actually going to change the structure of the podcast itself, and we're going to try to make the segments a little bit more relatable and a little shorter, which is hard because I'm so long-winded. And I'm working on not being like, up until now, I've been long-winded, and now I'm trying to learn how to be more concise. But I do have a couple of questions in the queue for you guys today. Now, let me see if I have this already in here. Let's see. If you want to ask a question, here we go. There we go. If you have a question, you can post a comment. If you want to post your comment, you can post that right away, and I will answer it. And I may finish a point first and then answer your question, but I will get to every question before I leave. Oh, no. That's not this StreamYard. I haven't done that in a while. We can do that today. Let's hide that. Let's do that today. You know what? I have not done that in a long time. I am actually, let me take that off so I can edit it. I'm actually going to let y'all come on StreamYard. If you want to come on StreamYard with me, you can actually come on StreamYard with me. This is the link to our show today. You know what? I haven't done that in a long time. That might be fun. All right. If you want to ask a question, come on StreamYard. I'll see you down there at the bottom. And then when I finish whatever point I'm on, then we'll bring you up. So make sure your camera ready and that you don't do anything crazy till after I bring you up. Okay. Because I'll bring you up whenever I finish whatever point I'm on when I see you pop up in my queue. Okay. But if you want to ask a question, you can put them in a comment or you can go to the forum and askjjc.com, which I'm going to go to right now. AskJJC.com. It takes you to a Google form. And in that Google form, you can choose to be anonymous or not. It's up to you. And my form is taking forever to load. So I'm just going to start with the first. I have a couple of questions that came in and I had already prepped those. And then anybody else that comes in, I'll answer those in the order that they're received. So I'll let that go ahead and keep running in the background, but we're going to start with the questions that I have on hand. And our very first question today is going to be, how do I pay off $40,000 in debt from when I was unemployed? I have a job now, but I'm barely treading water. Okay, I like the fact that this person is treading water, and that tells me they can at least pay their bills. So when I work with somebody, if you can't pay your bills at all, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. You can find that on my YouTube channel. I'm wearing a jersey and a hat. That's actually a pretty good looking video, if I do say so myself. But when you can't pay your bills, it's a different strategy from when you can pay your bills. And when you can pay all your bills, the next thing we want to work on is we want to work on getting rid of debts. And so If you can pay your bills and you've got $40,000 in debt from when you were unemployed and you feel like you're barely treading water, I don't know this person. I don't even know who this person is. I don't have any of their contact information, so I can't ask any clarifying questions. The questions I would ask if this person was sitting in front of me, I would ask about their expenses. And I know this is a sticky point. Look, I was talking the other day about cutting out that cable and things like that and internet, and people were looking at me like I got 20 horns growing out of my head. And I'm like, look, when you're in a tough spot, you're in a tough spot. So if you're treading water, and if your version of trading water is my version of trading water, you can pay all your bills, you can make ends meet, but there's nothing left for your future. Okay. If that's what you mean by trading water, then the very first thing that we look at is what can be trimmed. And you would be surprised at what can be trimmed. There's so much in our lives that we are spending that we don't need to be spending and that we can trim. And a lot of times we think we've already trimmed everything, but it's not until we actually put pen on paper, then we realize that we could trim just a little more. So, for example, a lot of us have different subscriptions. We have these different subscriptions that we've taken on and we don't know. I have a subscription. Y'all, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Let me see if I can find this. If I can't find it quickly, then I'm not going to keep trying to find it. But I have this subscription. I can't find it. I have this subscription I bought a year ago almost from somebody who was reselling access through another party. The party I bought it through went out of business. No website, no Facebook, nothing exists anymore on this company. The parent company won't cancel my subscription. They say you have to cancel it through the third party. I'm like, well, the third party doesn't exist. There's no way for me to cancel this. And what's on it is going to you. So every month I am filing a dispute with my credit card company. I mean my bank. I'm filing a dispute with my bank in order to get this charge reversed. Because I'm like, I don't want this charge. I'm not receiving the service. I can't even cut it off. Here's all my documentation. And every month I add to it. I tried to cancel it on this day, this day, this day, this day. This is when I've contacted the parent company on this day, this day, this day, this day. Here's their screenshot of their policy that they will not cancel payments and subscriptions from third-party providers. So what am I supposed to do? Somebody is getting this money. Well, they're not getting the money because I work with the bank and they're every month they take that money and put it right back into my bank account. And so, and so I'm just like, what can we do that we don't realize? And so to help people, let me just type this in real quick. jjclink.com/spend plan. Okay. I've typed that in. Let me drop that in. So if you have not, that's the first thing I'm going to recommend is you start tracking what you're spending. You're going to start tracking what you're spending. And to do that, we use a spend plan. Some people call it a budget. I think spend plan sounds cooler than budget because I like to shop. And so I like to spend. But a spend plan or budget or spreadsheet or whatever you call it, I have a very easy, simple spend plan that you can download at the link there. It's jjclink.com/spend plan. And there's two versions. There's a simple one page. Every month of the year, it's on that page. And if you fill it out, you've got one whole year of spend planning. And then I've got another one that's an Excel spreadsheet. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's also a lot more powerful. Does all the calculations for you and stuff like that. So both of those, you get 2 for 1 special when you go to that link, jjclink.com/spend plan. Okay. So the very first thing I'm going to recommend that you do, you who is barely treading water, and again, I'm defining treading water at you can pay all your bills, but you have nothing left over for your future. Okay. The next thing, so you're going to take a look at the spend plan. You're going to see where your money is going. If it's too daunting and you're just like, I can't do this. If it's too daunting to actually plan out the money, then what I like to do is a reverse spend plan. I like you to go for the last 2 months, grab your bank statements. If you have any credit cards or store cards or anything like that, that money has left your hands, I want you to take all of those and put them into the spend plan and look at what you spent and preferably go back 2 months if you can. And then once you look at what you spent, now a patterns can emerge. Patterns can emerge that might tell you something about where you can cut. I am not saying that this person has stuff to cut. I don't know. They didn't leave me their contact information. I have no way to ask clarifying questions. But that's going to be my first question. There's almost always something that can be cut. And I've been through a series. No, no, no. I've been through a season of my life where there was nothing to cut. When I was 800 something thousand dollars in debt and I couldn't pay my bills and I couldn't make ends meet. And we were living in a moldy basement apartment because that's all the money I could afford. Right. And when we were going around from store to store to get our food from the free samples because that was the only thing I could really give my son, right? Like I remember those days. And if you told me to cut my expenses, I would have been like, with what? Half a zero is still zero. But I also know that working with lots of people over the years, there are people who are very, very resistant to cutting a lot of stuff. So let me tell you some things you can cut and still live in today's society. A lot of people think you can't cut your cell phone. Now you may need to drop your cell phone plan and maybe get to a more basic plan. I get that we don't want to do that, but you could do that. Another thing you could possibly cut is internet. This one gets really iffy. A lot of people say, well, I can't cut internet. If I cut internet, how am I going to work? How am I going to find work online? How am I going to build up a business to make an extra income? How am I going to work this or that and the other? Well, you can do it the same way I did when I had no internet for a couple of years after that divorce. You can go camp out in places that have free Wi-Fi. It's amazing how many more places today, 15 years later, have free Wi-Fi than had them back then. You don't have to find the one parking spot at Starbucks or the one parking spot at Whataburger that you can use their internet and nobody sees you. You don't have to go through those extreme measures like I did anymore because there's plenty of places now that have free Wi-Fi for you. Even better, especially for my single moms out there, even better if you can find a place that has like the Shreveport Community Church. I often call them out because I not call them out, that's the wrong word, but I often call their name because I'm very thankful. They had this huge 3-4 story play place and inside the side of the church. And I would sit there and I would work on my book. I practically wrote a whole of my third book there. I would work on my book while my son played. He had no idea how broke we were back then. He had no idea that almost everything we did fun wise for him was free of charge, whether it was a military discount or whether I talked somebody into letting him in for free or whether I agreed to barter or, take pictures or highlight them on social media or what have you to get him in for free. Like all my son knew growing up is that we had a lot of fun. He didn't know that almost everything we did was free or couponed or heavily discounted because mama was broke. Mama was broke, but back then I still built in, you're going to laugh at this. Some of y'all going to laugh at this. I still built in $2 a week. That was my fun money budget for my son once we got the dust settled and we were starting to tread water. So when I first had all that debt, we didn't even have $2. I didn't even Y'all, I barely had enough money to buy my son a dollar store gift, a toy car for Christmas. That was the one gift I gave him that Christmas. And when he broke that wheel that night, I just went in my room and I just cried and cried like, how on earth do I make 6 figures? And this is all I can do for Christmas for my son. It was the worst. And you're like, well, you make 6 figures. Yeah, but I was 800 and something thousand dollars in debt. Worried about if I'm going to have a roof over my head. Worried about how I'm going to feed my kids. Cutting out another piece of cardboard to put in his shoes because I can't afford to buy him new shoes. It was the worst, y'all. And I'm so thankful for the church mothers and the church families that would, just occasionally just drop off a bag of clothes. Like, nothing, no big deal about it. Like, oh, I was at a yard sale and I saw all these things that look like they would fit your son, and I got them in the $5 bag, or I don't care what they, where they, how they, all I know is they met the need until I could stand on my own 2 feet. Okay. What I'm saying is, there is a lot of ways to move forward in life that don't require money. What it requires is a commitment and a determination that I am not going to spend more than I make. And when you make that commitment and when you have that determination that you are going to make this happen, you are going to honor the Lord with your financial lifestyle, then amazingly, the doors of blessings open up to you. The free programs open up to you. The people who just happen to have a bag of clothes that fit your kid opens up to you. Okay. The free samples open up to you. The free tickets open up to you. And it's so funny now because, like, I rarely get anything for free anymore. I get a lot of discounts because I'll ask, and sometimes you have not because you ask not. But I don't get mad when I don't get a discount as much anymore, because I know that there was a time in my life where that's what I needed. I lived off the discount. But the free things, it's just for like 2 or 3 years of my life, everything opened up. There was always an option. There were even times where the whole thing may not have been free, but it was like, if you can just drive an hour to this ski resort, we will give you passes to ski the rest of the season at no charge. And I'm like, it's got to be a scam. It's got to be a scam. But you know what? I've got $20. I can drive up there and back, you know? And sure enough, not only did we get the Epic Pass, it was the first year they did the Epic Pass. We got the Epic Pass that first year. We got that season free, and we got the whole next season. I'm like, look, y'all, those kinds of things don't happen to everybody, but they do happen to people who make a commitment. They plant their flag in the sand and they say, this is it. Enough is enough. So we're going to track our money. Okay. I'm going to go back and summarize. We're going to track our money. We're going to track what we're spending our money. We are going to look for things we can cut out. A lot of times we can cut out internet. It's not fun. I know this from experience. It's not fun. A lot of times we can drop down a cell phone plan. Definitely not fun. Now, I'm not suggesting you got to go back to one of those phones where you have to do A, B, C on the, to get to the C, and then two, and two, like you have to press 4 or 5 things per letter, right? Like, I'm not trying to go to that. But what I'm saying is, you can look for ways to cancel things. And if you can't cancel them because they have a fee, you can put some things in vacation mode. And this is interesting, Lee. One of the biggest things that people fight me back on is cable. And I thought, with all of the Netflix and Hulu and all the things, that people would not fight me on cable and entertainment subscriptions anymore. But it's even worse now, because people feel like the economy is so bad, I don't have anything else that I can just go home and relax, or just feel like I've done something, or I'm entitled to a little bit of something special. So let me at least have my TV. And I'm like, if you're barely treading water, the $200 a month that you're spending on cable, if you put that cable into a $5 a month vacation plan for 6 months, you've got over $1,000 to work with. Who could use an extra $1,000 of breathing room? Well, what am I going to do in my free time if I don't have cable? Read. What am I going to do in my free time if I don't have cable? Make some more money. What am I going to do with my free time if I don't have cable to entertain my kids? Play with your kids. I feel like I'm sounding a lot more angry than I'm intending to sound right now. I'm not trying to sound angry. It's just coming out that way, and I don't know why. But we want to log. Let me summarize again. We want to log what we're spending. We want to look for areas that we can cut. And then, if possible, we want to look for ways to make extra. And I'm saying if possible because all sides of this spectrum are not always available to all people at all times. When I was a single military mom and I was a realtor, that back then I felt safe to put my son in the back and go show houses. Okay. I wouldn't do that in today's world. I wouldn't do that in today's society. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. Okay. When I was trying to make money, I was trying to make extra money, I did several network marketing businesses. I did Avon, which I really do kind of miss Avon. I didn't make a lot of money off of Avon. I didn't I didn't make a lot of money off of Avon, but when you have no cable, no TV, no this, no that, and you don't have anything else to do, you make what you can make, right? I had Avon, I had Mary Kay, I had Discovery Toys, which did not translate well to Alabama, so I let that go. It was great for me in DC where everybody paid those prices for the toys anyway. But when I moved to Alabama, nobody was paying $20 for toy cars, right? Nobody was paying that in Alabama like they were in DC. In DC, the toys that Discovery Toys was selling was just the same price as the toys at Target, and they were better quality. So I let that go. But then I also did picking. Okay. And so if you if you if you have nothing, then your standards of what it takes to bring in enough money to make it worth your while is lower. And I'm going to give you this example. Okay. I loved Avon. I still love Avon products. In fact, don't all y'all Avon folks come to me and invite me. I already have somebody I'm thinking about signing up with. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to tell you no, and I'm not going to be bad. I'm not going to be bad about it. I'm not going to feel bad about telling you no. Okay. But I really did enjoy Avon for a while. The reason I stopped selling Avon is because I make more money doing this. I make way more money doing this than I ever did with Avon. But back when I was $845,000 in debt and I was in the military, so I couldn't take another job, right? That was a restriction I had. They would let you take a job, but I was the chief of the CAG. That's the Commander's Action Group. So I wrote his speeches. I took care of all his special projects. I was in charge of the protocol. So like when the Tuskegee Airmen would come visit and speak to the students at our part of Air University, Squadron Officer College at Air University, that was my job. You can't have your chief of the CAG delivering pizzas. Because if I show up at one of my airmen's house delivering pizzas, that's going to create a lapse of order and discipline in the military. So I had restrictions on what I could do to make extra money. So what I did Avon, I did Mary Kay, I let go of the Discovery Toys. I still had my Precious and Pleasant boutique, but it just wasn't the same now that I didn't have a basement boutique to have all the racks and show people all the clothes. But I did picking, and I'll explain what picking is in a second. But with Avon was interesting. I realized very quickly I wasn't making enough money to maintain the website that people can just order on. But what I found out was a package of 100 books with the bags to put them in was like $20 every 2 weeks. And Avon campaigns are every 2 weeks. And if I took those 100 books and I went to certain apartment complexes, and I always hit up Walmart and I always hit up Sam's, and I would just put them in there and either hang them on the doors of the apartment complexes, the ones that didn't say no soliciting, and I would go into Walmart and I would hang them up on the back of the stalls, and I might get through 100 books in about an hour or so. And if I did that, I would make between about $100 to $200. Okay. So then what I stopped doing, because it became a headache, is I stopped taking orders, and now I had the money to fund the website that you pay for where people can order directly. So then now I had it to where I was making, so this hour's worth of work, I was making about $100 to $150. Once you take out the price of the catalogs, you take out the price of the bags, you take out the price of all the things. But I was also running around town burning gas. I was also running around town with my child in the back and taking him in and out of all these stores and all in and out of all these apartment complexes, hanging up booklets and being worried that somebody's going to see the chief of the CAG hanging up Avon booklets, right? And so after a while, that wasn't my jam anymore. Okay. But when I was 800 something thousand dollars in debt, couldn't put food on the table, I needed that money. Okay. So back then I needed that money. I think 150 was probably my best month. I think the average was about 75 to $100. 75 to $100 was food for 2 weeks back then. Okay. And so then I also had Mary Kay. Now, I will be honest with you. I never profited much from Mary Kay, because the time that I joined Mary Kay, like the 5 years or so that I was in Mary Kay had like 3 different packaging changes. So they started off with a white and pink package, and then they went to a gray package, and then they went to a blue package. I mean, a black package, and then they had a change with the black packaging. So it was like you kept having to rebuy stuff. And I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. But one thing I did discover is if I set my prices low enough, I would fill an order every month easy. And while I didn't make money, what I got out of it was product and makeup and skincare and all those other things that I liked. And one of my favorite colognes, and I haven't bought it in a long time, but I still have samples of it, and there I've got one left, y'all. Is the Bella Barus. I don't remember. It's Bella something from Mary Kay, and it's like a pink and blue little case, and Bella something, but now I don't even remember what it's called. It's so lame. But I love that thing. But it was like 30 bucks, and this was 15 years ago, you know. I was like, okay, Bella Belair. Man, now it's gonna be on my mind. Like, what is it? I didn't plan this out. Like, I didn't script this out, y'all. So I would have researched it if I'd have known I was gonna talk about it. But um the but one of the but I love that stuff. And honestly, I actually really did like the Mary Kay um, skincare. I use something different now. I use Young Living now, but I really liked Mary Kay skincare. The only reason I stopped using Mary Kay skincare is because I do the oils now, but also because when I was selling it, I could buy the one I wanted. And when I sign up with people, inevitably everybody wants to try to tell me what is good for my skin. And I'm like, no, I've already been down this road. I need the one for old ladies who need moisture. No, 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 you have oily skin. You need this thing. No, that's gonna dry out my skin. And it always goes round and around. And I'm like, forget it, but my skin likes Young Living. I'm glad I'm with them now. So I'm kind of glad that the Mary Kay ladies never want to listen to me, right? But I did Mary Kay. That made me money. That didn't make me much money, but it was easy to do. I didn't have to work for it. I just once a month tell the ladies of the church, hey, put your orders in. And they just put their orders in. And I made enough to cover my website. I made enough to cover my product. I made enough to cover the fun things of life. Okay. Of makeup and stuff. And Avon, I made a little bit of cash, and I got free product because the samples and all the things, and made enough to cover the products that I wanted to order. The Skin So Soft jewelry. I still have a ton of Avon jewelry. That's why I need to go back into Avon, because my jewelry is starting to wear out. But I mean, it's been 15 years, y'all. I think it lasted pretty well. So those two things together, you say, well, that's not a whole lot, JG. That's a couple hours of work every day for $250 maybe a month extra, a week, or every 2 weeks extra, maybe. But when you got nothing, that extra 100, that extra 200, it makes a world of difference. And that's the point where I was, okay? And so, a lot of times people feel like, well, I can't go back to work. Okay, well, maybe you can't go back to work, but maybe you can do one of those tactics. Those tactics, that Avon, I never spoke with anybody with that Avon. I never spoke with anybody. I tried that once or twice when I realized I couldn't afford the website. And I was like, oh no, this is for the birds. Because then they want me to come and buy the stuff and bring it to them. And then they may or may not buy it. I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that. All right. And so that's one of the things that I did. Mary Kay's one of the things I did. But the thing that actually made me the most money was what they call picking. And I don't know what the modern life hack way of describing it is now, but back then that's what they called it. So basically, I would go to yard sales and I would get stuff that was undervalued, and I would turn around and take it to a consignment shop and resell it at a better value. Or I would go at Fridays on the consignment shops or whatever sale pattern those shops had, and I would get all the sales stuff. So our local thrift store, I used to love the base thrift stores. I don't even know if the military bases still have them, but I'm telling you, I got out of a lot of debt through the military base thrift stores. They would, almost all of them would have a Friday bag special, $2 or $5. And the base I was at this time had a $2 special. So on Fridays, you filled up that $2 bag with anything that expired. So the way a consignment shop works, if you've never shopped in one, you bring your nice things to the consignment shop, and then you set a price on it, and the consignment shop sells it. Some consignment shops actually pay you for it up front. others, you set a price, and when it sells, they get a split. You know, like a 50-50 split or a 70-30 split or something like that. They get a split. You get some of the money, they get some of the money. And then once a week you come back and you check, you pick up your check, or I guess now it's probably electronic. But that's how the consignment stops work. Well, you have a set amount of time. Some places it's 4 weeks, some places it was 6 weeks. And if your item doesn't sell, you can come back and redeem your item. You can come back and get it back, right? Or if you don't get it back, it goes in the bag sale. So anything that was expired, I would go in, fill the brown paper bag for $2 with all these expensive clothes that people overpriced because, it's expensive. Of course, people, I've got this pair of, designer, I've got this pair of, I don't know who's the designers now. Back then it was like Gloria Vanderbilt or, Levi, not Levi's, but Jordache. Oh yeah, I'm old. But I've got this fancy pair of jeans and the tag on it says $99. So of course somebody's going to pay me 90 for it. Now, you and I both know ain't nobody paying them $90 for them jeans. I don't care if they got the tag on it. They've been sitting in your closet for 2 years and you've been smoking. Ain't nobody paying you $90 for those. If I'm going to pay $90 for your old jeans, I can go to the store, catch it on sale, and get it for 75. All right. So I would grab the $99 pair of jeans that had expired, stuff it in the bag with all the other expensive things that had been overpriced, so they never sold, stuff them in the bag. And then I'd come back the next day the next day the consignment store's open, and I'd resell them at half price. Those $99 jeans, nobody wanted to buy them for 90, but they sure would buy them for 45. This jacket, nobody wanted to pay $20 for it. Well, they'll pay 10. This pot thing, and I tried not to get big appliances or anything, especially anything you have to plug in. But this big toy, nobody wanted it for $10, but I'll bet they'll want it for 5. And because I only spent $2 on the whole big bag, that meant I could, as long as I profited $2, I was in the black. So for me, it was a wonderful, I paid off thousands of dollars of debt every month with that method. Okay. And so I'm sharing these things with you to give you some ideas. Would it be easier to just go somewhere and get a part-time job? Of course, it would be easier to go get a part-time job, but not everybody has the ability to do that. Not everybody has the health and stamina to do that. Not everybody has the childcare situation to do that. So if you don't have the ability to do that, now you know of some different things that you can do. So to go ahead and summarize the steps that we've covered so far, one, you're going to put all of your spending into a spend plan and see what you're spending and what you can cut. You're going to cut everything that you can cut, and then you're going to look for creative ways to increase your income and bring more in. Now, those are the 3 that we start off here. The goals in this situation would be to stop treading water and free up some cash flow that you can put towards your future. And if you can free up some cash flow to put towards your future, yeah, my recommendations always are first to build up some savings. $500, $1,000, maybe even $2,000, depending on the expenses where you live. Build up a small amount of savings so that the next life happening at you, you have some money to go in and pay that and not have to go back into more debt. And I shouldn't even say it like that. I can't believe that word just came out of my mouth. Did y'all hear what I said? Who heard what I said? If you heard what I said wrong, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I can't believe that I just said what I just said. Oh my goodness. I should be flogged today for saying that. Here, if you didn't catch it, what I said was, so you don't have to go into debt. Well, guess what? Ain't nobody got to go into debt. Oh, but you don't understand. No, I do understand. But one thing I understood was when I had 800 something thousand dollars of debt, I couldn't choose to go back into debt if I wanted to. I couldn't put anything on the credit card because everything, the credit card was maxed out. And when I called the credit card company and gave them my sob story about coming home from a military trip, house sold, stuff thrown out, divorce papers in my face, when I gave them the sob story, they said, well, I feel sorry for you. We're going to take off the interest. We're going to take off the fees. But guess what? We going to stop you from using this card. You're not going to use this card anymore. That's how it works, okay? And so that's part of why a lot of people don't want to follow these steps. Because if I tell you cut out everything that needs to be, that you can possibly cut out, one of the things you got to cut out is spending on debt. And nobody wants to cut that out. Nobody wants to call up the credit card company and say, you know what, I'm over my head financially. Please close this account and put me on a hardship plan. They'll close the account, they'll take off the fees, they'll reduce the interest, they'll do all these different calculations, whatever they got to do to help you pay it off in 5 years, but they're not going to let you keep using it. And in my opinion, you don't need to keep using it because it's just a stopgap measure that keeps you from actually living by sound financial principles. Oh, I sound like I'm getting upset again. I'm not trying to be upset. I ain't mad at you. I'm glad you asked the question. I want you to ask more questions. It's just that I'm so passionate about this because if you can get this now, then it will change your entire financial trajectory. And not only yours, but the trajectory of everybody else's finance whose lives that they allow you to pour into. Any kids that you have, nephews, nieces, any people that you mentor in the future, their lives will all be immensely better because you take action today to stop the bleed financially and start living through abundant financial principles. And when you start living by these financial principles, guess what happens? The enemy that comes to steal, kill, and destroy comes at you with everything to make you feel like you've got to go back into old ways. Now, this person said they were in debt from being unemployed. I don't know what went into that unemployment. Sometimes life just happens. Well, $40,000 of debt is a lot of debt. $40,000 of debt is a long time of ignoring the problem. And again, I'm not mad at you. I know my voice sounds that way. I know my face. I just happen to be drawn mean, I guess. But I but I'm not mad at you. But I'm saying, when you got to 10, when you got to four, when you got to $2,000 a debt that you couldn't pay back off, when you got to $10,000 of debt that you couldn't pay off, but 40,000 is like a year's salary for a lot of people. There are multiple times along the way you could have made this commitment to yourself, and you probably didn't even know that you could make that commitment, but you know now. So I'm encouraging you to make that commitment now, okay? And so let me just think really quickly because there was one other thing I wanted to say on that goes along with the three action items I gave you. So just to summarize, maybe it'll come back to me. We're going to log. I know what it is, okay? Number one, we're going to log everything that we spent last month and possibly the month before. And we are going to look, number two, for things that we can cut. And number three, we're going to look for things that we can do to increase our income within the constraints of our time, family, health situations, okay? Then I want you, this is step 4, okay? Step 1, log it so you can see what's accurately going on. Step 2, cut as much as you can cut. Step 3, increase as much as you can increase. And step 4, get in the habit of planning your money spend on paper before you have the money in hand. This is called giving every dollar a name. Some people call it giving every dollar a job. We are telling our money where to go instead of later on wondering where it went. I know my paycheck is going to be about this. This is what I'm planning for to spend next week. Once I get that money in hand, I'm going to buy this, 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 and this. And if this, and this is on the plan, then that's what I do. And if I decide not to do it, then I change the plan. If I say, let me give you an example. Let's say I'm working at Whataburger this week, and I'm going to make about $500. And when that paycheck hits my account Friday, I'm going to buy A, B, C, and D. I'm gonna pay. Well, you can't really pay rent around here with $500. Let's just use letters. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D with that money, right? Okay, I'm going to pay my car insurance. I'm going to pay this. I'm going to pay that water bill. I'm going to buy some groceries. I'm going to buy those things. If something else pops up, boop, oh, you forgot it's your dad's birthday. It's your mom's birthday. It's your spouse's birthday. It's your kid's birthday. It's your best friend's birthday. It's the anniversary at the church. If something pops up, boop, I need you to spend money on me. Then you have to say, you're not in the plan. Or you have to change the plan and put this little shiny thing in the place of something else that's already in the plan and take that little thing out of the plan. So that way the plan is still the plan. And whatever you plan to spend your money on, that's what you're going to spend your money on. And if you have to change the plan, that's fine. But when that little thing boop comes up and it's like, we need you to spend $200 next week on this thing for church. Do you really need me to spend $200 on this thing for church? Because I already paid my tithes and I don't have $200. And I look at all the list of things that I'm going to spend. I'm going to buy my car. I'm going to pay for my car insurance. I'm going to pay my water bill. I need groceries and my child care for the week. You know what? This thing is going to have to be funded by somebody else. Somebody else is going to get their blessing because they're going to meet that need. It's not going to be me, not the kid, because it's not on my plan and I don't have wiggle room and I can't switch anything out. And we have to get in the habit of strongly defending our position, our financial position, and our financial future. You say, I gotta give till it hurts. I hate the fact that churches say that, give till it hurts. I gotta give it in Jesus' name. If what's that song called? Give it in Jesus' name, and the Lord will add the increase somehow. Yes, but you gotta have it to give first. And one of my biggest rules is if come up to that was one of the hardest things for me to come up to, because in my heart, I never want to tell the house of God no. And it has been pummeled into me since I first gave my life to the Lord, that when you tell the pastor no, you're telling God no. And I never wanted to say no to anything that had to do with the house of God, because I always wanted to tell God yes. But you know what I had to learn? I had to learn if God didn't put it in my hands, he did not tell me to give it. Y'all, some of you today, you need to know that if God didn't put it in your hands, he didn't tell you to give it. Now, he may have called you to be the one that rallies other people who got it in their hands to give it. I've done that many times when I wanted to support a cause, but it wasn't in my hand. And I make those videos. I don't do them as often as I used to, but I used to make those videos and people would send in the donations and the need would get met. But if God didn't give it to me, he hasn't told me to give it. And if I don't have it, I'm not giving it. Okay. And so we want to get in the habit of planning our stuff out beforehand. So that would be number 4 that I would tell this person to do. I think this is hilarious. I've gone on for 45 minutes on one question after telling y'all that I wanted to make all this stuff more concise. I said we were going to have more concise answers, but I think there's been a lot of really good teaching and a lot of really good explanations. And so we'll probably have to break it up for the podcast. But I think that you get a lot out of it. Okay. So I'm going to answer one more question really quick. And this one should be enough that first answer plus this one should make 2 podcast episodes. The next, and then I'll just, you know what, maybe I'll do a live tomorrow. Maybe I'll go on live during the day tomorrow and I'll answer the other 2 questions. I have 2 other questions in the queue. This question is, you talk a lot about the snowball method, but what about the avalanche method? Okay, this is a good one. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The snowball method that I talk about, it is not the most mathematically correct method for paying off debt. It really isn't. Like, if you know how to do math, you would be like, you have to pay off the highest interest stuff first. Well, guess what? If we knew how to do math, we wouldn't get into debt in the first place. Oh, yeah, I said it. And everybody's like, oh, but I'm grown and sexy. I can leverage other people's debt. I don't have to use my money. Yeah, let me see how that's working out for you in 10 years. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, the road to my success, all along the way, are people who stopped in their success because they thought they were going to get ahead with other people's money. 1 or 2 or 3% actually did. But almost everybody else, their hopes and dreams are littering the road, and I keep on going. Because maybe other people's money works from time to time, but living debt-free works all the time. 100% of the time for 100% of the people who work the plan. All right. So the avalanche method, for those of you who haven't heard of it, the avalanche method is where you pay off the highest interest rate first. So if you have 3 bills and one of them is like $10,000, but it's at 20%, and another one is $1,000, but it's at 1%, then the avalanche method would tell you pay off the highest one first. So pay off that $10,000 one first. Mathematically, that's the best way to do it. All day long. But here's the thing. Like I said earlier, if we were good at math, we probably wouldn't be in debt in the first place. A lot of financial planners look at debt as a penalty. Look at interest as a penalty. Interest is the penalty I pay for being lazy with my money. Interest is the penalty I pay for trying to do things faster than natural. Interest is the penalty I pay for trying to get rich quick, and interest is the penalty I pay for allowing somebody else to come in and speak into my finances. So when you buy it, and I'm not knocking a mortgage, I'm not saying don't go get you a mortgage if that's what you need to go get you a house. But when you buy a house on the mortgage, you do not own that house. When you buy a car with a note, you do not own that car. Okay? So I don't want to have a mortgage or a loan or any kind of debt over my head for something that I don't even own, that isn't making me money and isn't appreciating. Your house is likely to appreciate. Investment property may or may not appreciate. It depends on how you manage it and what happens. Taxes are higher. Hazard insurance is higher. A lot of things are much more complicated when you have a rent home. Okay. So I'm a big fan of getting out of debt fast. The reason I don't teach the avalanche method, which is the person who got me out of debt, that's one of the methods he taught Larry Burkett. The reason I don't teach that, I use the snowball method, which Larry Burkett talked about as well, but it was really made popular by Dave Ramsey. The reason I talk about the snowball method is because it's the psychological effect of, yes, I have this $10,000 at 20%, but then I have this $1,000 at 12%. I'm going to pay off that $1,000 because now that $1,000 is knocked out and that debt is gone. And I don't have to deal with that debt anymore. Okay. So with both methods, once you pay off whatever you're paying off first, you take what you were paying towards that and you roll it into the next payment. And you roll it in, you pay that one off, and you roll it into the next monthly payment. And in a couple months, you pay that one off, and you roll it into the next payment. That's how these methods work. And either one of them is good. Personally, though, I like the feel goodness and the momentum you build by paying off the smallest debts first. Great question. Great question. Let me see if I can answer these ones. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and record them. I hate to do that because I think my husband's wait. Hold on a second. I'm going to put this. Oh, my battery's running low. Never mind. They answered my question for me because I'm like, you know what? I think he probably went to bed already. Um, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close out for today. I have two more questions. If I get a chance to, I'll try to do them tomorrow. If not, we'll roll them. We'll roll them into. No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to make you wait a month. We'll do something with these questions later, but it's not going to be tonight because my battery's almost gone and my husband's waiting on me. And it's 10:40. So if you are listening to this as part of the podcast, I want to thank you for being with me. I encourage you to join us live on Thursday nights. We are in the process of adjusting our broadcast schedule. I have been teaching on Thursday nights for almost 10 years. I love teaching on Thursday nights. It's a lot of fun. But I have noticed our viewership has dropped off. And I have also noticed that we get more engagement during the day. So we are looking at shifting our courses to the day because for me, it's much more fun to do this, to have that customer interaction. And then maybe the Thursday night class will just be a rebroadcast of whatever we did during the day. So if you have any thoughts about that, if you would prefer the day versus the night, if it doesn't matter to you because you watch the replay anyway. I mean, we get hundreds of people watch the replays. We get hundreds of people download the podcast. So maybe it doesn't matter to you when we record it. But if you like to be on with things live, let me know how I can help you and what I can do to make this broadcast more accessible to you. Other than that, that's all I have for you tonight. Y'all take care and be blessed.